My name is Elena, and what I am about to share with you is an experience I had with my family that challenged everything we thought we knew about the world. A few months ago, my brother Alejandro surprised us by unexpectedly marrying a woman named Isabella, whom we barely knew. Alejandro's decision left us all in shock, and soon we began to realize that something was not right. Alejandro had always been a meticulous and thoughtful person. He had never made impulsive decisions, especially regarding serious matters like marriage. However, one day he came home with the news that he had married Isabella, a woman he had known for only a few weeks. No one in the family understood how this had all happened so suddenly. We thought maybe Isabella was pregnant, but that was not the case. Isabella, on the other hand, was a mystery in herself. She had an enigmatic beauty with dark, deep eyes that seemed to see beyond the obvious. From the first moment I saw her, I felt an inexplicable unease whenever I was near her, although I couldn't pinpoint why. My parents tried to talk to Alejandro to understand his decision, but he was unusually closed off and evasive. It was as if he was under Isabella's spell. Any attempt to question his marriage was met with a defensive attitude. The first weeks after the marriage were strange. Alejandro changed radically, becoming distant and seemingly in a trance. Isabella, on the other hand, always maintained an enigmatic smile and an unsettling calm. She tried to be nice to us, but something in her gaze made me distrustful. One afternoon, while helping my mother clean the house, I found an old photo of Alejandro. In the picture, he was wearing a bracelet with stones I had never seen before. It was an unusual piece of jewelry with dark stones that seemed to absorb light. I didn't think much of it at the time, but later I saw Alejandro wearing the same bracelet. When I asked him about it, he said Isabella had given it to him. Something in his tone and the way the bracelet made me feel sent a chill down my spine. The reverence with which he spoke of Isabella and the gifts she gave him was almost disturbing, as if he were under a spell. I decided to investigate more about Isabella. We knew very little about her, and her sudden appearance in our lives had been mysterious. I spoke with friends and acquaintances, but no one seemed to know anything about her. It was as if she had appeared out of nowhere. This increased my distrust and suspicions. One night during family dinner, I noticed Isabella wearing a necklace with stones similar to those on Alejandro's bracelet. I couldn't help but ask about the necklace, and Isabella gave a strange smile before answering that they were special stones charged with positive energy. Alejandro nodded enthusiastically as if he truly believed Isabella's words. This concerned me even more, so I decided to investigate further. Days passed, and my unease grew. I began to notice small changes in Alejandro's behavior. He became more reserved and spent a lot of time alone with Isabella. He barely spoke to us, and when he did, he seemed distant. Isabella always had an excuse to keep him away from the family. Her visits to our house became less frequent, and when she came, she seemed like a stranger among us. One afternoon, while going through some documents in my room, I found an old book that had belonged to our grandmother. The book talked about stones and crystals and how some were used in rituals to control and manipulate people. I remembered the bracelets and the necklace Isabella had given Alejandro, and a feeling of terror overwhelmed me. I decided to talk to Alejandro once and for all. I went to his house and found him in the garden. I asked him to take off the bracelet so I could examine it. At first he refused, saying it was a special gift from Isabella and that he didn't want to take it off, but after insisting, he agreed. While examining the bracelet, I noticed that the stones were cold, to the touch, almost icy. I felt an unusual energy emanating from them. I don't know what it was, but it felt strange. Suddenly, I had an image of Isabella in my mind, watching me and smiling sinisterly. I took the bracelet and returned it to Alejandro, who quickly put it back on. I told him what I had read in our grandmother's book, but he just laughed and said I was exaggerating. He insisted that Isabella was a good person and that everything she did was for his well-being. His attitude confused me even more, and I started to fear it might be too late to save him from Isabella's influence. That night, I couldn't sleep. The images of Isabella and the bracelet continued to torment me. The next day, I went to find the healer, an elderly woman who lived in a small house on the outskirts. I told her everything that had happened and showed her a photo of Alejandro's bracelet. She frowned and told me that the stones were used in manipulation rituals. The healer gave me a protective amulet and taught me a ritual to break the spell of the stones. She warned me it would be dangerous but necessary if I really wanted to save my brother. I thanked her for her help and returned home, determined to confront Isabella. That night I waited until everyone was asleep and went to Alejandro's house. I called him and convinced him to go outside to talk. I showed him the amulet and told him everything the healer had said. Alejandro looked confused and skeptical, but agreed to go along with it to calm me down. We sat in the garden while I took off the bracelet and put on the amulet, following the healer's instructions and reciting the words she had taught me. I somehow felt a strange presence around us. Alejandro observed the surroundings nervously but didn't move. Suddenly, Isabella appeared at the door looking at us with fury. "What are you doing?" Isabella screamed. Alejandro quickly stood up, but many questions and answers remained unresolved. This experience not only taught us the importance of protecting each other, but also how the most unusual things can have a deeper explanation than we imagine. As I mentioned, Alejandro is still married to Isabella, but her influence seems to have diminished. Now, whenever I see a bracelet with dark stones, I remember what happened and make sure to warn others about hidden dangers that might be lurking in the most unexpected places. The story of Isabella and the bracelets has become a warning for our family. Many details revealed that she had had problems in her previous life, but we still welcomed her with open arms, as is our family's custom. From the first day, Tomas showed a reserved attitude and avoided talking much about his past. However, we noticed unusual behaviors, especially at night. It all started one night during our guard duty in the mountains of Veracruz. It was a calm night, and the sky was clear. We tried to wake Tomas, but to no avail. Finally, Sergeant Ramirez, one of the most veteran soldiers, managed to calm him down and put him back to bed. The next day, Tomas didn't remember anything that had happened. We all thought he was sleepwalking. As the days went by, Tomas's nocturnal episodes became more frequent and disturbing. When he wasn't on night duty, he would get up in the middle of the night, sleepwalk around the camp, and shout strange things, saying that someone was following him, as if he were in a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. I asked him if he had experienced anything similar in his previous life. Tomas slowly nodded and told me he had had similar problems in a small town in Veracruz and had consulted a local healer for a cleansing. The healer told him he was bewitched. Much stress or pressure can cause strange things, but this seemed to be something more. I believed we needed external help. We decided to take Tomas to the healer. She examined him and performed a ritual to free him from any negative influence. After that, Tomas seemed more relaxed and stopped having those disturbing episodes. I learned that there are forces in the world that are difficult to understand, and that protection and the help of others can be crucial to overcoming the darkest challenges.